So one of the things that we finished off with last week was turn in a mock offer, right? So Donna, Doug, and Mike were the people that turned offers in. And I had said that I was going to pick a winner, right? Whoever won the offer, the property, and then I would have like maybe a little surprise or a little gift. So the property in question that we had decided everyone was going to go ahead and make the offer on is, hold on, I'm going to share it.
So as you're pulling that up, can I make some comments on this?
Of course you may. Absolutely.
So I think, well, first of all, I did kind of rush mine because I was on vacation and I came back late yesterday. So I did it last night.
Okay.
But when I was looking at it, so I went into the disclosure and I seen that they're saying that there's asbestos in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
They had a couple broken windows.
Mm-hmm.
And so without actually seeing it, I thought it was a little more difficult to really come up with a good offer because I haven't been looking in that area to really compare it to.
Right.
You know, so I just kind of went by what they're asking for versus also what the city appraised it at and kind of just base it off of that and,
okay,
you know, type deal. So I didn't know if that's what
okay.
everyone else did or if that's the right way of doing it, but I just wanted to throw out there. That's how I came up with mine.
That's how you did it. That's fine. Okay. So this is this house. It's Northville Township. They're asking $425. It's been on the market for about a month. We can look at some of the pictures real quick. Looks cute on the outside. Ann Smith with Coldwell Banker does a lot of stuff in Northville. So, you know, it looks like the people are already gone. We probably need some work. It's an older house, right? So, as I said, hold on. There we go. $425 was the asking price. So Doug, I'm going to run through the summary of Doug's and then the summary of Mike's, and then we'll compare them. Doug offered $430. His client has a conventional mortgage and they're putting 30% down. They offered to close the first week of January. No occupancy was provided. His buyer is purchasing a home warranty at their cost. He's not asking the seller to purchase that. He says he's going to do an inspection within 5 days. He's putting down a $5,000 EMD. He included a clause, an escalation clause, which says that he will beat any verifiable offer by $2,000 up to $461,000. So that's a $30,000 bump potentially, right? He also offered a $5,000 appraisal guarantee for anything that appraises above 415, right? So his floor was 415. If it appraises under 415, the whole contract's null and void. But if it's at 415, the client gets 420 and so on, again, all the way up to the 461. Mike, on the other hand, offered 437.4, 20% down conventional, also offering to close on the first week of closing. He offered 45 days of occupancy, 7 days of an inspection. His appraisal guarantee is $12,400 above appraised value, up to the 437.4, and with a floor of 413. So it's funny that the two of you had a floor that was only $2,000 apart, that you both came up with that. So, I'm not sure which things I want to address first. Both of you, you both included the seller's disclosures, right? Which you were supposed to do, which is good. But neither of you included the agency disclosure. You got to remember to include an agency disclosure. Mike, you did include a buyer's agency contract, You can do that if you want, but you don't have to. It isn't anybody's business what kind of commission you're charging them or anything like that. But the agency disclosure is required. So make sure you guys both do that.
I also didn't include the lead-based paint.
Yeah. So, Mike, in your summary, one of the things that you said, so what Mike did, he had a really nice bullet pointed summary of this is my offer, this is the type of loan, this is, blah, 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 which is good. One of the things though, the way you worded it was that your client is approved for 80% of the purchase price or something like that. I knew what you meant, but it felt confusing. Like they're only approved for 80%, not the whole purchase price. It felt a little weird. So I wouldn't even put that, right? You could just say pre-approval attached. The nice thing that Mike did do was he wrote a little fake pre-approval, just, hey, I'm approved for this much, blah, 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 which I liked. Doug, I would expect that when you're doing an actual offer, you would also provide that. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Who gets the house? I like that Mike offered occupancy, but if you look at the pictures, the place was already empty. So they didn't need occupancy, right? So had you guys been doing a real offer, I would have expected you to call the listing agent and go, hey, does your client need anything? Right? So although that was good and I liked it, it doesn't really matter to this offer. Doug's client has 30% down. Mike's has 20. So that's a plus for Doug, right? The occupancy doesn't matter. So Doug has an escalation clause of $2,000 above any verifiable offer, right? Because Mike's offer is higher by $7,400. But according to this, Doug can bump that up by 2. So Doug's client would then be willing to pay $439,400, right? However, as the listing agent, I know what my appraised value probably is going to come in at. I mean, it's a gamble, right? Sometimes you're not sure. Let's say it appraises at $430,000, right? Doug says he'll pay $5,000 above appraised value, right? So if Doug's up to $439,000, right? Because he was doing 2,000 over, and it only appraises at $430,000, my seller's going to get $435,000, right? Because Doug's giving me $5,000. Mike, on the other hand, is giving me $12,400, but Mike's capped at $437,400, so he's never going to go above $437,400. You know what I'm saying? So, you're playing with a couple $1,000. You're just playing with a couple $1,000. You're like, ooh, and Doug said he would do the appraisal within 5 days, right? What I might do is maybe I would call Mike and say, hey, we don't need occupancy. Can you do the inspection a little quicker and bump your ceiling up? Do you have any more room? Like, could you bump it up to like 440 or, I might go back and forth and kind of jockey a little and see what everybody's doing. But I think I would give it to Doug because it looks like if something goes wrong, he's got more wiggle room maybe to bring some cash, right? Because he's approved for a higher amount. But it's tough. You guys came in super close, right? Do you understand why I'm kind of going back and forth with that stuff?
Yeah, I was kind of leaning on that 30% down versus 20% down. I thought that was
it made a difference. It makes a difference. And getting the inspection done quickly.
Yes, to me, I figured it's 5 to 7 days. To me, I didn't think that the 2 extra days was going to really matter or make a decision.
It can. So the thing here, though, what we don't know is this house potentially overpriced? Like, is the listing agent shooting for the stars on this? Because if she is, and she knows it, she's going to go for Mike because he's got a higher appraisal waiver. Right? Because if it comes in at 420 or 425, she'll get more money on Mike because he's appraising it higher.
So basing it on today's market, right, and it's been 30 days, I would assume that it's probably is priced a little high.
Yeah, it's only been 30 days though. I mean, we are in weird times. But here's, let me see. I like, where's Remind? How come? Oh, there it is. I don't know. Do you guys see this opening up or did it go to a blank
No, it's
screen?
opening up.
Or a white? Hold on.
Yeah, it's a gray screen.
Okay, I'm like, let it open. Why is it saying that? This is, well, of course, that's what's going to tell me. 498 estimated equity. I like going down and looking at the title companies. So it's probably gonna appraise. I mean, the lowest one is at 424, right? If First American and Black Knight, I mean, I know these are algorithms. I'm just looking at it really fast. You know what I mean? For this point, she's probably in the right price range. It just might take a little time. But again, a couple of windows don't work. There was problems with the house. I mean, we may go in and the condition might be garbage, which kind of speaks to your point, Doug, right? That
Yeah, I think
that we don't know if it's overpriced.
the biggest thing I thought was the asbestos in the basement. That's the one that I think is going to scare a lot of people.
Yeah, but you know what?
But they didn't know for sure though. Is what it sounded like when I was reading
Yeah.
the disclosure. So
But
it's
when
like,
they
well, why
say-
would you put it in there?
Is it those asbestos tiles? Is it
I
those
don't know.
shuffleboard tiles that are in like all the old 50s houses? That those are asbestos, right? So
Yeah, there's no description on it, but that's kind of what I was expecting too, is that it's going to be the basement tiles, which are
Yeah.
really common.
right.
One of the things
So-
I was actually doing was I looked in the area of this property to see
Mhm.
what others similar were selling for.
Yeah.
Those in better condition that were more updated were
Yeah.
actually up to like 480.
Okay.
So I saw there's a pretty big price gap there. Otherwise, I would say this house looks slightly on the overpriced side, but when you compare it to what its potential is, I
Right.
felt like there was actually a lot of room.
Yeah. And it's downtown North though, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's why I went up to 460 total.
so here's my little gift. I'm going to give it to both of you guys because you came so close.
Oh,
Do you see this mask?
the KW mask.
Isn't that cute?
It is.
I'm going to give each of you one.
Oh,
So they're disposable, but not as disposable as like the blue paper ones. They're kind of like in between, right? So Doug, I know you come in often enough. I can like bring it in the office. Mike, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to put it like in your folder downstairs?
Yeah, you could do that.
the front
Hopefully
desk?
coming in sometime next week. So
Perfect. Congratulations. You got a little KW mask. Woo!
thank you. Nice job, Doug.
you as well. I was going to say, if you buy me lunch, I'll let you have the house.
Oh. All right.
What's Donna's offer though?
So Donna's offer, let's look at it. I had it open. Where did it go?
It's okay, Donna. It's a good learning experience.
No,
For
she
all of
doesn't want
us.
it. Where'd it go?
That was one of the reasons I put the occupancy in there too, even though I didn't think it was needed, just because I wanted to practice writing it more.
No,
That's
Doug,
good.
you don't need to know my offer. Your client is the proud owner of the home. No.
She,
Yeah,
what
but
was
I
it,
might,
like
I might
four?
push him into a $500,000 house.
Hers was, I believe it was lower.
Yes, it was.
It was lower than
Yeah.
you guys.
And-
And she just had some spaces that still needed to be filled out,
Yeah.
right? Like
Gotcha.
the legal description wasn't in there, some stuff like that. That's absolutely.
I was really nervous about doing this because I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. But I wanted to give it a try.
Yes,
So
you
that
have to
way,
start.
yeah, right. I had to start it so that way I'll know you know, where I am and what I
Yes.
need to focus on and
Yes.
and fill in. So
So,
Right.
and do it again,
yes,
right? And
yes,
do you guys all have binders for Pete's forms?
yes. I
Okay.
have it.
What I always did and what you should do is with a pencil, like stick notebook filler paper in there, whatever, and write notes on the PAs, on all the forms, all the little anecdotes and things that he talks about in those classes. Because for the first year, I still have my binder. I would whip it open and do my PA with that thing right next to me. Right? Then you pretty much don't ever have to call anybody because you got like a whole class. Not that I mind if you call, that's not the point. But you have everything right there. And so there's a much higher measure of confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're filling it out in class with Pete, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
for the classes that we've taken. So mine's only half done. That's why I had to call you on Saturday for the first half. Because I haven't had that first half training yet.
Yeah.
And
You
I
know.
haven't had it yet. I haven't went through that part of it with Pete's, you know, on the forum.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And remember that there's videos that you can go back
Yeah.
and watch, right? Because he just every like 6 weeks, he's cycling through and beginning again, and again. Angela, let's see if your audio works. You had said, nope, now you're muted. Unmute. There you go. Talk. Nope. Can you hear me now? No. Oh, she typed in. Okay. So this next, did you guys watch launch number 6? Talks about open houses.
Did I watch it? I think I did. Yeah. Can I
How
ask
many-
a question?
Oh, sure.
I wanted to add, Doug, where did you, and I know this may sound crazy, but I don't know, so I'm going
Okay.
to ask. Where did you find the information in regards to the home as far as the asbestos and the broken window? What
So
did
when you go into
You talk through it and I'll do the screen. Can you guys see the screen?
yep, when you go into
Okay.
your MLS listing, there's a little
Right.
spot down there on the lower left-hand corner below the picture that says docs.
got
When you
it?
click on that,
Mhm.
they the seller should have the lead-based paint and the seller's disclosure there. And so I
Okay,
went through the seller's disclosure. I wanted to see what was wrong with the house because that's gonna depend upon what I'm gonna offer, right?
And it's
right.
not opening.
But I know now. Okay,
Okay.
that's where you find. Okay, thank you, Doug.
And then for me, because like I said, I kind
There
of
we
did
go.
mine.
See, and then you just
Um,
click on it
Okay,
and then it opens up and you can print it, you can download it,
okay,
whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and technically this is supposed to be signed when you put an offer in with your buyers,
Correct.
just so they had it. But I did not put signatures on mine because I just did it as an attachment.
I
okay.
also did not put signatures on it.
No,
One of
it's
the
okay.
things that gets it's a error trap is when you're pulling it up into DocuSign and you're running it. Like if you do the what do you call it, the pre-assigned positions,
The
signing
roles,
positions, it only does it for some of the documents. It doesn't do it for this one. So you have to manually put your check boxes and signature boxes into
I
it.
need to learn how to do that
Oh, super easy.
pre-assign thing.
I could
'cause-
show you in 2 seconds. So you're right, Mike. It only will insert signatures and initials on DocuSign templates. If there's any kind of PDF that's uploaded, for instance, even our own associated business disclosure, right? Where you have to tell them that Legacy and those guys, work with the office. It's not filled out because all we did was scan a piece of paper and upload it as a PDF, right? But if it's an actual template, like the PA, it does. And I don't know why this isn't filling. Anyway, Donna, it shows
Yeah,
up here.
I see it. Yeah, I just needed to know where to find it. Yes, so thank
Yeah.
And
you.
then I'll tell you something else I did. So, because if you click on the RL button,
Oh, yep. That stands for real list.
Okay.
and so because like I said, I was in a rush yesterday because I
Mhm.
came home from vacation. I clicked on the comparables up on top. There's a link,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
and that comparables will pull up all the houses in that area to kind of compare to. But you still, I mean, think it's
It's
as
not all
detailed
for
as-
sure, no.
Right.
Right.
But
not
it's
as
a quick
detailed-
and dirty, right?
Right.
It's something quick that you can just kind of look at.
Okay. Well,
It's
Yeah.
just something that helps sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's not really comparable, it's not looking at, so you really have to still dive into it, but it was something quick and easy for me to get some information.
And
Got
as
it.
you keep going down here, these things will show you the history of the house, and it'll give you a range as Real Comp sees it as well, right? So let's see, what does that say? The confidence score is 52%. Nice. 52% confident that the value is 453. Take that with a grain of salt, right? So, but there are all these numbers that as you start looking in different places, you start to notice a certain value-ish keeps coming up. That's when you can get more confident about that. All right, so it's important for you guys who have not watched the videos to watch them. Because at the end of launch, when you are then starting to really dive into the other coaching sessions, everyone else that's on those is more well-versed, I guess, in some of those things. So it's important that you grab all the information that you can now before you jump into that, because we can't always hit the very basic details, all the time. Go ahead, Mike.
Angela actually had a question there.
Oh, I didn't see her. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yay. Yes.
Yay.
Okay. Perfect. Good. What was it?
Well, it was a question about the remine. And then
Sure.
Donna actually asked the same question that I was going to ask about the asbestos and the broken windows. So is that the actual appraisal report?
No.
Do we see that?
No.
How do we know
No.
what the house appraises for?
You have to get comps. You have to go through, do the research on the MLS and search for homes that have sold, have gone pending, or even are active that are similar in architectural style, similar in size, bedrooms, bathrooms, lot size, all sorts of different things like that. If you go on to the KW Advantage YouTube channel and search for CMA, Stephanie Janiga does probably a good hour and a half, I think, video, very detailed on how to do CMAs. Also, Real Comp has videos on how to do that, and that's
Okay.
also part of their training.
All right.
Good.
Good. Thank you.
All right, so open houses on hold for now. So it's a bummer because it's such an integral source for brand new agents, right? To be able to jump in there and expose themselves to new people and new clients. So it's frustrating for lead generation, right? When you don't have some other big established network of what to do. If I could open up, there we go. However, we could talk about this anyway, because the day will come, because we have a 95% hopefully effective vaccine. So hopefully next spring, everything will be good. So there's something called the 7 levels for open houses. And as you move through each level, the concept is that you will have more traffic and it will be more successful, and you will be able to generate more leads based on how high up these levels you choose to go in preparing and executing your open house. I saw that, Mike. He's yawning. So level 1, stick a sign in the yard. Boop, open house. Whatever. Hope the people show up, right? Level 2. And I know some of this may sound kind of cheesy or obvious, but still. you put a sign in the yard, and then you put balloons, and you put riders. I mean, extra signs, basically, is what that means, right? So level 3, you put the sign in the yard, you put balloons all over it, and then you put directional signs at all the key corners with balloons, right? Something so people see it, or like those big flags, right? So the key corners, the street that brings you into the sub, if it's a subdivision, and the major intersections that are near there. So if you're in a part of town where you have the mile roads, right? You put it at the intersection of this mile road and whatever. Anything that's going to get people who are wandering around after church or running errands on a Saturday, and they don't have anything better to do but to walk into, the tire kickers. Go ahead, Doug.
Right. I just had a question on it. So, because I know in Canton, if you put a sign between the sidewalk and the street on that grass part, it's illegal, and they'll pull
Yeah.
the sign and
Yeah,
keep it,
that's-
whatever.
Yes.
Is that, I mean, so do we usually have to ask the person, or do you guys just do it because it's only 2 hours? How do we normally handle that, I guess?
You ask for
All right,
forgiveness
well, I'm gonna-
rather
let me
than
get this-
permission typically, right?
Yeah, so you still put it between the sidewalk and the street? And
I
hope
stick
they
them
don't take
in
it?
wherever the
All right.
yeah, I don't put them in people's yards
Right.
because
Well,
I
that's
don't
my
think that
thing
that's
is, 'cause,
right.
like, when I did my
Yeah.
open house 2 weeks ago, I'm like, well, there's two things. One is I spent money on my signs, so I don't
Right.
want them stolen.
Yeah. Yep.
But where I had to put it, I'm like, I'm not getting as good of, when people are driving by, they're not going to see it as much as if I put it a little bit
Right.
closer, right?
So
With
you
the
have
balloons,
certain,
I did not do the balloons, and that's something that I think would have helped.
you have certain communities where there are Nazis that live either in the neighborhood or just in the community, right? And they drive around pulling signs out. Matt has a story from a couple years ago, I think. He did an open house. He had balloons and stuff all over the place. And some lady from, it might have been Novi, showed up at the door with the sign and the popped balloons, like handed them to him. So it was really funny. But other times the city will like take the signs and throw them away. Like you'll lose signs. It stinks, but it happens. Condominiums, I just stick them in. But again, you got to just, I ask for forgiveness. That's my
No,
thing.
I agreed. That's what I was wondering, because I mean, it's only a 2-3 hour deal, right?
Right.
So now, what's the riders?
I don't know exactly what they mean on that. So I wish I had a better, because a rider usually goes like out a for sale sign that says for sale or has your name and number. So perhaps here they think that the directional signs are just plain and a rider would have your name and number on it. I'm just kind of guessing. So that's level 3.
I was thinking they
Oh,
might have
go
been
ahead.
like streamers.
Oh, no. 4, you put the sign in the yard, you have your balloons, you put them on all the key corners, and you put flyers, you hang or door knock or whatever, flyers out before and post it on websites, email invites, There you go. Yep, that's your directional. I like it. Looks good. Looks good. So email invites. You can email invites to all of your sphere that says, hey, I got an open house this weekend. Is he inside or outside? Sorry, that was the dog. Can you let him in, please? If you so happen to have the email addresses of people that live in the neighborhood, which I don't imagine you would, you could send emails to them too. But flyers, you can just walk around and just stick them indoors, right? The week before, they're saying. Level 5. Now you're going to add, go and invite 100 of the neighbors. So how are you going to do that? Door knock. Another flyer that says you're invited. There are people who have been successful starting the open house a half hour or 45 minutes early, saying the first half hour is for neighbors only. so that you can come and see the home, get a better idea of what your own home may be worth by coming in and seeing the condition of this one. And, you know, you make things kind of exclusive, and neighbors like, ooh, I get to come in exclusively, right? Some people will do it as a separate day. Like, hey, our open house is on Saturday, come Friday evening just for the neighbors. Whatever, you know, whatever your seller is okay with, because that's obviously about lead generation for you. But you could spin it and say that you want to invite all the neighbors to come on their own because it's their opportunity to choose their next neighbor. They may have friends that are interested in the neighborhood. So they'll come through on their own on Friday, and then they'll tell their friends to come on Saturday or Sunday. So it depends on your seller, what their appetite is for that, how you spin it, you know, and present it, and what you want to do. You know, how much time do you want to spend on that? So that's level 5. Level 6 now adds getting on the phone and reminding everyone. That's where you can use RedX, because RedX does the geo searching. Of course, we always have to remember that the do not call issue can pop up. So be mindful of that. So calling everybody that morning and saying, hey, remember, we've got an open house. And then level 7 is hold 4 other open houses in the area. You, of course, aren't going to hold 4 other open houses because you're at this one. However, if you wanted to get together with a handful of yourselves, right, like a group, and say, hey, let's focus on doing like an open house extravaganza Saturday at 4 o'clock in Farmington Hills, or, you know, whatever. If you guys could all find stuff within like a mile of itself, first of all, you can advertise together and make it look like a big, cool thing, and send your people that come to your open house to the other ones. It's just something that drums up buzz, right? Buzz and excitement. So if you are committed to doing, you know, level at least 6, you see all these different steps that are like marching orders that you can put into your calendar for that week or 10 days leading up to that open house to try and get yourself as much exposure as possible. So this graphic is all about traffic, right? Getting traffic. And, you know, the flyers and the email invites are really just another touch to your own sphere. It's not even really, it doesn't even need to really be about the open house, right? It's more about just showing somebody that you're in the business. It's just another reason to say, hey, it's me. I'm a real estate agent. So this is about traffic and the actual physical open house. Other things, though, that you should do, especially if you're holding open houses for other agents, right? Because they're not your listings, is make sure that you know the house, as much of it as you can. Go through and preview it before the open house. You know, there's nothing worse than walking in 15 minutes before it's supposed to start because you've been sticking signs all over the neighborhood. And then you get in and you can't figure out how to turn certain lights on. And then you see some weird appliance or contraption hanging on the wall. And you're like, what's that thing for? You know, because everybody that walks through is going to ask you. And you're going to sit there like an idiot going, I don't know what that is, you know. So you have to have a good conversation with the agent that's listing it, if it's not yours, and just ask them, what do I need to know about this house? What are the great things about this house? What are the bad things? What are the concerns that somebody might bring up, right? Print out the disclosures, comb through them, read them top to bottom. And if some things are blank, ask the agent, like, do they know when the roof was last put on? Do they know, what about a hot water heater? What about a furnace? Is it an efficient furnace? Is it, you know, have they ever had any issues? And when you do a preview of the house a few days before, if you have questions, like if you had a buyer, pretend that you're a buyer going through, call the listing agent, ask, because then when you're the one holding the open house, you can answer all their questions. most of them, right? And if somebody throws some weird curveball, you say, you know what, I'm not sure, but I will make sure that I find out. Can I have your contact information? I could just get back to you. It's another way to keep in touch with them. Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, you saw, I just know I was gonna do that because I unmuted
I saw you
myself.
unmute yourself. Yeah.
So one thing I think, because I wish I would have done, is I kind of did like a market analysis to see where the house stood, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I failed at was there was a couple houses down the street that were for sale. One specifically was from
My attorney said
Michael,
last night at
our
about
guy.
4:30.
Perna?
Perna?
Perna, thank you. He had a house up there. It's been like 45 days, and everyone kept on asking, well, why isn't that one selling? And I didn't have an answer for that, and I didn't have any comparison to that specific house. So I just wanted to throw that out there that people are going to ask about those questions as well.
That's true. Yeah. Very, very good point. Also, look and see if there's any for sale by owners in the area and know how much they cost. Because the neighbors especially absolutely know what's going on in their area for sure. But yes, if there are other comparable homes in the area, even whether they're selling or not selling, you want to know about them because the open house that you're holding is competing for that. And if you can get a buyer to want yours, or let's say they don't want the open house that you're doing, you can easily say, well, you know, there's one that's also very similar to this, but I know that you didn't like the size of that bedroom up there on that second floor, but I know that there's one 3/4 of a mile down the road that has a little bit of a different layout that you might like. I'm wrapping up my open house in an hour and a half. If I can get an appointment, you want me to meet you there? I'm happy to show it to you, right? All of a sudden, you're a problem solver. And that's what they want, right? Everybody just wants someone to help them solve their problem. That's what I see myself as, right? I'm a consultant who is helping someone get from A to B and listen to them and resolve whatever their challenges are, or show them the way to resolve whatever their challenge is. I don't see myself as a salesman. I always swore I would never be a salesman. I don't like salesmen. So I choose to see myself differently. You know, that's how I operate. The more you know, the more you can help someone. So if you look in the Google Drive, you'll see copies of, this is that 7th level thing that we went through. There's a copy of, if you want to use this sign-in sheet, right? It's 1 page per person. If you want to use that, you can. There are also copies of sheets. Here's another one where, you know, several people can sign in on a particular sheet, whatever you feel more comfortable with. These are just different guidelines, like, you know, how do you choose which open house you want to do, right? Obviously, the best ones are the ones that are fresh, that are brand new. Typically, the agent does that one themselves, but if they don't, grab it. Houses that are staged well, priced well. If it's been on the market for a while, wait until they do a price improvement. That could be a way for you to find an open house. If you go and look at houses that have been on the market for a while in our market center, you can call the listing agent and say, hey, have you been thinking about a price improvement sometime soon? Because I see it's been on the market for 36 days or 45 days. And if they're like, well, I've been talking to them, but they're not ready yet, say, yeah, I get it. Listen, when you do a price improvement, I want to hold an open house that weekend. Can you let me know? Like, stay on their radar. They would be impressed. I would be impressed if an agent talked to me like that, because it means they get it, right? They understand what's going on with the marketing. You will also want to post on the MLS, just to, let me show you guys. Oh, I don't know if I can do it right now. So if you have a listing you would click on it. You would go to edit. And right here, see where it says manage open houses? You're going to go right in there. You're going to talk about what type of open house it is. It's a public open house. What's the date? When does it start? When does it end? If you want to put a link to some YouTube video you made or a description, whatever you want, and then you submit it. That will put it on the MLS immediately as an open house. And then within 24 hours, Zillow picks it up and it'll show up on the Zillow, Realtor.com, all those syndicated sites, it'll show up on theirs. Zillow has, or at least used to have, a service that users can subscribe to be alerted, I think on Fridays or Saturdays of, it must be Fridays, of open houses that are coming up for the weekend. Zillow accumulates and batches all the information, I think, at the end of the day, Wednesday, like Wednesday night, to send out. So if you don't get it in by Wednesday on the MLS, it won't show up in that email blast. It'll still show up on Zillow's open house if people are searching for open houses. But if you want that additional push of this email blast that goes out to these subscribers, you're going to want it on Real Comp by Wednesday. Okay. Let me go back here. So, right, this is all part of the 7th level stuff. Email your database, post it on social media, right? A lot of people have been finding success by sharing it on Facebook Marketplace, like things that are for sale. Put it in there, because a lot of people subscribe to or follow and like, you know, those groups, and they get a lot of exposure by doing that. Right here, open house circle prospecting role play. So this is a little video that you can listen to that's on KW Connect that gives you, you can watch somebody and their scripts when they get on something like RedX or whatever, and call everybody that's in the neighborhood around there, and you'll hear what they're saying to these neighbors. So it says right here, right? The goal of door knocking and circle prospecting is to lead gen. So you got to try your best to get their contact information. It's not just about telling them to come to the open house. You want their information. You know, drive the neighborhood, see if there's any FSBOs, look them up, check out the competition. I mean, this is everything that we've just been talking about. Arrive early, open up all the blinds and windows, turn on all the lights. You got to make the place look inviting. You want to highlight all the good stuff, right? Use sign-in sheets. Bring an open house emergency kit. You never know. Have a little bag in the back in your trunk all the time that's got some toilet paper, something like that. Because if you're in like a vacant house and there's no toilet paper, even for yourself, if you're in there for 3 hours and you have to go to the bathroom, or if anybody else needs it, just, you know, it's always helpful. Questions to ask during an open house, right? What brings you here today? These are all exploration questions. The majority of the time, they're not going to buy the house that you are holding open. They do sometimes, but the majority of the time they don't. However, the more that you know about somebody, the more that you can guide them, create some rapport, a relationship, and then find them something else. Because for you, the goal is to gain a client. I don't care if they buy the house that you held open or not. You want to create a connection. So what brings you here today? How did you hear about our open house, right? Were you out driving around? Did you actually seek it online? How'd you find it? Because if they're out driving around, you know, do you live in the area now? Are you looking for a new home? You can read these, right? How does the price match up to what you had in mind? Are there any features that jump out at you? I made a sign-up sheet where it's just like little 4x6 sheets, and I have these tiny little clipboards, because I felt like people sometimes feel pressure to like sign the little thing right in front of you. I hand them the clipboard with the little piece of paper and say, take this with you, carry it around with you, fill it out while you're looking at the home, And I have some questions on there to say, what's your favorite feature of the house? What's your least favorite? Is it a deal breaker or not? And I tell them, you know, this is feedback for the owner, right? So I can share with them. Really, I just want them to be engaged and not feel like all I want is their name and number, because I'm going to spam them. You know what I mean? It's more like a soft sell. It's like, here, help me, you know. I've found that I think people like it. If someone is hell bent on not giving you their information, they're not going to, and that's okay.
Sharon, I
Yes.
just wanted to make a comment regarding the filling in the sign out sheets. I imagine going forward, when they do open the open houses back up, we'll probably have to do some kind of contract or contact tracing
Yes.
anyway. So
Yep.
might actually be an excuse to get more leads.
That's right. You're right. Yep. So as it says here, right, the goal is to get them talking. So like if that house, when they start talking about what they like and what their favorite thing is, what their wish list is, right? If that house was available, would you like to see it? Oh yeah, of course I would. All right, well, give me your email address. I'll send you some listings. See what matches up to what you're looking for. All right, what's the best number to reach you? Start getting them to say yes, because then it's harder for them to switch their brain and say no. The gold, like with everything else, is the follow-up. Follow-up, 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 you know, right? Till we're blue in the face. I have somebody that I'm still talking to right now in a drip that I met at an open house 3 years ago. One of these days, she's going to buy something. I know she is. Just waiting. I actually have 2 people like that. Enter them to command, thank them like immediately. Like if you had an open house on a Saturday, send them an email that night. Be fresh, hit them, right? There are smart plans on command that are called 8x8s, which is where you're hitting them every day for 8 days. Stuff like that. You need to try and cement yourself in their mind as an agent. So enter them into command, email everyone individually, thank them for attending, send them a handwritten note a couple days later. Hey, it was really nice seeing you. They will remember that, right? If you got all their information, they will remember that. And then open houses are just very cost effective, right? You spent 2 hours of your time. If you can get one client, even if it takes you a few months to convert them, $6,000 is not bad for hanging out in the house for a couple hours and following up, which is the uncomfortable part. But use technology to try and help you out with that if you're a little shy or feeling, you know, uneasy. All right, so if you did not watch number 5, please go back and watch it. If you did watch, I'm sorry, I meant number 6. If you did watch it, or do you have any other questions? Because this is supposed to be Q&A, right? And there can't be any questions and answers if nobody has any questions. Anything? No?
Sharon, I have a question, but it's not about the launch video. It's actually about
Okay.
something I have coming up. Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a listing that's coming up that I'm for sure I have a buyer for.
Okay.
So my question is about dual agency and how, like, at what point do I need to let my listing know and my buyer know? And then just about the best way to go about that, especially if they're both family members, but from opposite sides of the family.
Ooh, gosh, you keep throwing, you keep
So
throwing
one
stuff
is
in
like
there.
my extended family,
Okay.
and then the other is on my father's side. So they're like family members, they know each other, but they both came to me looking at this.
All right, so let's talk about when they don't know each other. Like when you have the discussion of agency disclosure with them at the very beginning, which you should have already had, there is a spot on that form where you say that you're going to be a buyer's agent, a listing agent, or a dual agent, right?
Yes.
So you can mark off listing agent and dual if you're doing it by hand, because in DocuSign, it only lets you click one or the other. And explain to them that it's not often, but there are instances where you may have a buyer that you are represented that would be interested in this listing, and that you are committing to them to not disclose any confidential information or motivations, things like that, and that you pledge to keep professionally everything separate. You're not going to tell them what your bottom line, the seller's bottom line is. And you're also not going to tell the seller what the buyer's ceiling is, right? You are going to be transparent as you can, while keeping everybody's information confidential. So you need to have that conversation from the beginning with anybody.
Okay.
Now, with your situation, you are still going to have that same conversation with both parties, right? The listing and the buyers. And then you need to be very transparent, professional, and draw
Wait.
boundaries. Yes, go ahead.
No, my screen
Oh,
froze. I thought.
Sorry. So transparent, and I lost a double dip because I was over worried that somebody would think I was trying to steer an offer one way or the other, when I had a lot of multiple offers. You just have to make sure that everybody knows that you are representing all sides confidentially. But you're going to have to draw real boundaries because these are family members. And from the beginning, you have to say, okay, listen, when we sit down and we talk about all this, I am Lauren, the agent. I'm not Lauren, your cousin. I'm not Lauren, your whoever, right? And
Yeah.
you need to agree to that. And business is business, personal is personal. And it needs to be separated when we step into this space and we're talking about the transaction. You have to be super firm about that, in my opinion, so that they hopefully don't come back and have issues and drag you into anything. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and that's my fear too, because she's selling. The selling property is as is, so it's going to need a lot of fixing up. So the buyer wants to use it as an investment property.
Okay.
So I've been trying to figure out the best way to make sure that you get the most that you want out of this property, while my investor gets the most that they can get for fixing the property up. So if you're selling it as is, can't really match it with other things on the market that were updated.
Well, you can a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, so no one ever gets dollar for dollar back when they put money into a house, right?
Right.
Like they say a kitchen is the highest return on investment, which I think is only 60 cents on the dollar. Bathrooms and stuff, I think, are only like 40 cents. You can actually, if you want, Google a couple quick articles. There's a ton of them. And you can even show that to your buyer, right? And just look at the houses that are updated, try and kind of guess how much would it cost to update it to that amount. And, 30-40% of the cost is what you would adjust. You know what I'm saying? So if it's going to cost $50,000 to put into a house to update it, you're not going to take $50,000 off of the price, off of the updated price. You're only going to take off. Yeah, you're only going to take off like probably 25, right?
Yeah.
And people need to understand that that's a really tough thing, Doug, that people can't sometimes handle. So you guys got to go to Pete or something. What day is today? Yeah, Wednesday, Pete's Forums. Go hang out with Pete. But Lauren, you gotta like put different hats on. You gotta split your brain when you're talking to each one.
Gotcha.
Right?
So I've already had the conversation with the listing, because I didn't speak with the buyer yet, just because I didn't know what to do. So I've already spoke with the listing agent listing
Your
customer,
partner.
and let her know. And let her know like, hey, so like I do have a buyer for this. Like I think I can find a buyer for this. I believe it will be a buyer that I know. Would that be okay? Like before we signed the form, I want to make sure that she was okay with it.
Yep, and make sure that she signs that agency disclosure that says dual, and then you can write down like possible right next to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. You gonna go to Pete's class?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Good, cool.
too.
Go do it. All right. Thank you for
Thank you
coming on.
very
I hope you
much.
feel better. All right.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye bye.